All right, we are live. BetMGM Sportsbook, Mandalay Bay. Thanks very much for them for hosting us.
Yes.
We have gotten a feed up. We've circumnavigated Las Vegas customs, seemingly, to get a feed of this awards show up. We will be here throughout the whole show, outside of MVP, given that Lamar Jackson is going to win that. So not much suspense there. If he doesn't win, then we'll come back on. But he's going to win that award. How are you feeling, Drew?
I went from cautiously optimistic to wildly optimistic over the course of 2 weeks here, as every piece of content I consume, all of the takeaways, everyone we've talked to behind the scenes who has a vote, it's basically all going to break in our favor from what I can tell. We won't entirely spoil the layout of the awards tonight, but I feel like the sequencing is somewhat favorable for a particular award. This is going to be a good night. And last year I think we could have parlayed every single second place winner, and I had all of them in my book. This year I think there's a bunch that are going to come home. Defensive Player of the Year is going to be the third award that they give out in about 20 minutes. That's the one I'm the most keyed on. And this is going to be a fun time. Yeah, well, I think we can spoil the fact that, because I think we mentioned it before, that the penultimate award, just before MVP, at 7:30 Pacific, is going to be Comeback Player of the Year. Now, the hope would be that they're not going to lead into MVP with Joe Flacco or Baker Mayfield stealing from Damar Hamlin. I feel like if either of those two are going to win, you kind of tuck it into kind of 6:40 p.m. Pacific, kind of in between Defensive Rookie and some other random award. But I would think that probably speaks to. So we know the schedule. Unfortunately, CBS wouldn't tell us the winners, but we do know the schedule. So the first award coming up is going to be in about 5 minutes, and that'll be Offensive Rookie of the Year. So this is going to be CJ Stroud, barring something absolutely unforeseen. I think Stroud is effectively off the board, though. What did you make of this market and how it kind of progressed? This was correctly, CJ Stroud, because of his quarterback play, is the slam dunk here. But I will also say this, if I had a vote, I would feel like the second and third place contenders here were both absolutely outstanding and very realistically should have been in any other year would have been winners. Puka Nacua, of course, breaks the record. Puka Nacua is just flat out awesome. He's going to get a distant second place in this one, and it doesn't feel great. Sam Laporta, one of the best, rookie tight end seasons of all time.
Probably ever.
Yeah, he was the third best tight end across football this year, maybe second best, depending on who you ask. And the fact that all these guys are rookies, the league is in good hands, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And honestly, what CJ Stroud did for so many people's careers in Houston, he deserves more than Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's incredible with Puka, the fact that if you told me that he had that season before the year, I would have told you that he was, minus 8,000. And the only way that he's going to go down is if someone has one of the greatest quarterback season of all time for a rookie. And that's what happened. That's what ended up beating him.
Incredible.
It was, I think it was probably 80-1 that Stroud was going to play this well, maybe longer.
Yeah.
But I interviewed Puka Nacua yesterday or a couple of days ago, and I'm all in Puka as a man. I was telling you that after we got done and off air with the interview, Puka is just the most normal, friendly, jovial guy. After we got done with the interview, he turned to me and was like, "Are you going to the Sphere this week, bro?" I was like, "What is this?"
What?
He's just a super normal dude. Hope he has an amazing career, and I'm pretty sure that he will.
That's odds on by margin. Yeah.
What is most interesting to me about this award is what happens if. So two scenarios. One, what happens if Tyler Goodson catches the 4th and 1 pass from Gardner Minshew, and the Colts win that game, and the Texans miss the playoffs? And then two, what happens if Stroud plays poorly in that game and they lose? Because my thought is that even if the Colts won that game by completing that pass, I think Stroud still probably would have won just because he played so amazingly well in that game. I think it would have been closer, but I think he still wins. If he played poorly in the game, I think he would have lost the award.
I agree. There was a lot of scope heading into that particular contest where people were like, how can you not give it to Puka? He's going to break the record. And he was so impressive in his quality of play that it was a done deal. And then the win was just icing, I think. The more fun kind of mental exercise, we talked to Cris, the great Chris Sims, in the draft process, and he was adamant that the number one quarterback on the board was CJ Stroud. If he goes to Carolina, is he the rookie of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion about how much context dictates your outcomes. I mean, the thing is there's been a little revisionist history about how good Houston's skill position players are. Because no one thought Nico Collins was this guy coming into the season. No one thought Tank Dell was going to be this good. I think that Noah Brown vastly he exceeded expectations. Showtime 102 says the Colts game had more impact on D'Amico Stroud. Absolutely. If D'Amico lost that game, he's 0% to win the award. I think Stroud still had some scope. But, I mean, I guess Stroud just showed a level that is probably going to translate somewhat across. And like, if you told me that we start the season again and CJ Stroud is on Carolina, I mean, he probably loses to Puka just because Puka had such an amazing season, but he would certainly still be in the mix.
I think he's so clearly that guy that he would have won anyway, honestly. There were obviously structural problems with the offensive line in Carolina. There were issues with Frank Reich's vision for coaching an NFL franchise, and particularly one with young players like a rookie quarterback. But what I took away most from some of the stories we've heard about CJ Stroud, because he does not broadcast this himself. Like, you have to dig a little bit to find out what he's up to. He's a very quiet guy. He's very, not like necessarily putting out everything that he's that he's all about. But apparently, like, the Nico Collins emergence was not an accident. The Tank Dell synergy was not an accident. Like, he was aggressively pursuing these guys to get on the same page with them early in the offseason to the tune of immediately out of the gate, good chemistry. And I think that's like, it all goes back to he is a very solid leader. And if you have that leadership quality, as long as you can get guys to buy in who are on the fringes, then you can elevate them to perform as well as Nico Collins and Tank Dell did. And I'm not sure that there was quite enough talent with, not Barkey? Jonathan Mingo. Yeah, there was not quite enough talent with Mingo and Adam Thielen. I don't know if you're elevating them in the same way. But if you are, kind of pursuing that same path with the receivers they had available in Carolina, it's not crazy to me that Carolina could have at least been competitive in the NFC South. So I think Stroud was going to win this regardless of where he landed. And I think he has entrenched some people in Houston for a long time with how good his performance has been this year and should be for the foreseeable future.
Yep. No, I mean, and also, like, the Texans didn't have a great offensive line either. And he was still able to do what he did. Yeah. And maybe Thielen has an even better season. Mingo's not very good. I think that's the problem. I mean, I just like if he's playing like over 80% of the snaps.
We would have said this about Nico Collins, though.
No, I don't know. I think Nico might have been better last year even than what Jonathan Mingo showed. But we'll see. Looks like OROY is about to get announced. I had a lot of money on Bijan Robinson after the first week or two of the season. And that never really sniffed it after the first month. Just fell off a cliff.
Where do you think he'll be in the overall running back pecking order next year with the new staff in place? RB2? RB3?
I don't know. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, he will be there we go. CJ Stroud wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. First time that, the world will not collapse tonight and we'll have some order in these awards.
Yes.
I don't know. With Bijan, it's difficult because Tyler Algier is really good.
Yeah.
And also, like, we haven't seen Bijan have the workload yet. And there's going to be guys taken in front of him. Like, I don't know, is Bijan going to outproduce like Jonathan Taylor next season? I don't know, probably not. He'd be a dog just because Taylor has less competition. He's going to be behind McCaffrey. He'll be behind Kyron Williams, which is crazy to say, but he will be.
Well, Kyron Williams' coach is now in Atlanta.
It's true. CJ Stroud with a good get-up. The glasses look. It's a much better look than what Joe Flacco was rocking on the red carpet.
He did the pro move, which is kind of the young guy move when you're wearing black tie to go with the necktie instead of the bow tie.
Yes.
The bow tie artificially ages you, and if you're a young man like C.J. Stroud, like you don't want to be there. So I think I fully support the decision to go necktie for Mr. Stroud.
Well, speaking of attire, we're 18 minutes in. We haven't addressed that we're wearing the exact same jacket.
Not quite. Not quite.
It's Fayette brand, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, mine is as well. We didn't coordinate that at all. This is what I wore to Las Vegas.
It's very similar.
Yeah. Although you're wearing a little polo kind of Hawaiian operation.
Well,
I am wearing.
I'm ready for vacation.
Yeah, I'm wearing the AFC South 2023 Division Champ shirt. I think I'm probably the first person in history to be wearing a Houston Texans Division Champ shirt layered under a Fayette knit blazer. And maybe I'll burn this to the ground if Kevin Stefanski wins 30 minutes from now.
I don't think that's happening.
Well, let's hope not. By the way, anyone in the Aiden Hutchinson?
Yeah, second time today.
Yeah,
Did he get a haircut between when he saw him and now?
I don't know what's going on there.
He got some pretty aggressive styling relative to what we saw him. 40 minutes ago? No, 2 hours ago, I guess.
Damar Hamlin's presenting an award. What does this mean? Can we read anything into this?
I mean, I think that it's Damar Hamlin night. That's my reading. I don't know, man. We're celebrating a guy who died and came back to life. I think that's what I've taken away from this.
Let's bring him up again about an hour from now.
A lot of great applause.
Yes.
Like if we break this guy's spirit tonight by giving comeback player of the year to any other human, I think that's a gross injustice.
You know how awkward it's going to be if Joe Flacco wins comeback player of the year and goes up and he doesn't want the award and he accepts it. He's not wearing a tie. He's not wearing a tie tonight.
No, he's not.
It would be let's try to rule that out of existence. By the way, anyone who is watching, if you've got any questions about anything, be it related to the awards, Super Bowl, any other sport as well, if you want, please just shoot it through in the chat, and we will.
I have some questions for you.
Okay.
I'll get started. Feel free to ask, but I'll get started. So basically, all of the top rookies.
Yep.
They all have either the same situation heading into next year or an improved situation.
Yep.
Right. I guess, is there any expectation for not a step? Stroud should take a step forward. Another year with Slowick.
Yep.
Nakua should continue to take the wide receiver one role from Cooper Kupp as he kind of, continues through his, career phases. And Bijan Robinson, of course, with a new coach who maybe utilizes him more effectively, could take a step forward. Like, if you had to buy stock in one of these three guys to be in the MVP discussion next year, is it clearly obviously Stroud?
Yeah, I think Stroud is.
Okay.
I mean, if you're ranking the quarterbacks right now, the way I would do it is Mahomes, tier 1 by himself.
Okay.
Josh Allen, tier 2 by himself.
Okay.
I'd have 3 Burrow, 4 probably Lamar, and then 5 Stroud.
Okay. Are you going to give any consideration to Bijan or Puka for Offensive Player of the Year next year?
I mean, Bijan, it's weird. I think Bijan actually has more scope to do it than Puka, even though Puka vastly outproduced him this year, just because Bijan's path, I think just the potential volume mixed with, the generational talent. I think Puka as well, it's going to be hard for him to replicate that with a full season of Cooper Kupp. Kupp had a weird year where he missed the first 4 weeks and then he was kind of battling an injury for a little while. I know Puka had that amazing production at the end of the year with Kupp, but I do think that Bijan probably has the highest ceiling to actually win Offensive Player of the Year. To me, the interesting guy of all the rookies is Bryce Young, who went number 1 in the draft last year, and now it's just seemingly an afterthought. I think that I was looking at, potential Coach of the Year guys and just, the easiest narratives to craft. Yeah. What if Bryce Young's just good? And what if Frank Reich was just terrible and the offensive line was a mess and he just lost all his confidence? What if Dave Canales builds him back up into the guy who, was taken number 1 overall? Yeah. That team has talent elsewhere.
I mean, you're picking our own pocket for a future Coach of the Year take. But yes, I 100% agree with you. We didn't see any flashes from him this year that really suggested there is but that said, there's enough college tape to say that the talent is there. So I'm not going to dismiss it. How about Sam Laporta? Is he tied at TE1 next year?
Yeah, he is. I mean, in fantasy, he should be tight end 1. I think Kelsey is at the point of his career where he's Kelsey's like Jimmy Butler now, just kind of coast through the regular season, occasionally have flashes. He'll have some random 3-touchdown game against the Chargers or something. But I think he largely saves himself for the playoffs. And other guys like George Kittle, regular season on a massive producer. I do think Dalton Kincaid has the talent to get into that type of mix. But ultimately, I think Sam Laporta is the guy. Also because he doesn't have a ton of competition on his own team, right? Like it's Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
And then it's like the immortal Josh Reynolds, and we'll see if anything happens with Jameson Williams.
Yeah. That all sounds very fair to me.
Yeah.
Any rookies that you see who underperformed on the skill position players this year who you think can take a step forward next year because of the situation?
Skill position guys. I mean, like is Quentin Johnston just a write-off?
That was exactly who I was thinking.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm actually interviewing Quentin Johnston tomorrow morning, so I'll ask him that. Quentin, do you think it's just over?
I mean, the fact that he has the stones to show up to the Super Bowl week after what happened and answer questions is that's noteworthy.
Yeah, no, good for him. Yeah, Tony Pollard did as well. Interviewed Tony Pollard a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Lovely guy. But yeah, he had a tough season as well. But no, Quentin Johnston be the guy who's interesting because, I mean, he's the first round pick.
Yeah.
The other guy too, who maybe people didn't realize as much because there wasn't that much attention on the team, but like Jackson Smith and Jigba was a monster by the end of the season. He had an awesome stretch. He completely lit up Dallas in that game where Geno Smith played the game of his life.
Yeah.
And I think that he'll probably emerge as the clear wide receiver 2 on that team if he isn't already. I think he'll probably go past Tyler Lockett.
Do we know who the OC is in Seattle yet? Under McDonald?
I'm not sure that's been confirmed. Waldron is gone.
Yeah,
but
interesting. What did you think of JSN shade on Waldron? Did you see that?
No, what did he say?
Somebody he was interviewed, and it was basically like, what was it like? Or it was a Bears media. It was like, what can we expect from Waldron? And he was just silent.
Yeah.
Silent treatment.
Okay.
No answer. It was not exactly what the Bears media was hoping to hear. I think they wanted some effusive praise about how great Waldron was, and he gave them nothing.
Okay. No, I don't mind it. Is this the Men's Player of the Year? 625.
No, we got one more, I think, before this, right? Isn't there? There's a weird one. There's a weird non-betting one, I think, that comes up before, but I could be mistaken.
No, it's CPOY now.
This is it? Oh, yes. I thought this was the third award. This is great.
This is a big moment.
Oh, I think
looks like we have a question first, though, we can take.
Okay.
Which size tools do you use to search for the best lines on the market? Do you ever make bets solely based on how out of sync one book is compared to others? I am almost never arbing, but I mean, most of the stuff that I am betting is futures and awards markets, which are pretty easily scalable. We had Rufus Peabody on the podcast earlier in the week. I think Unabated is a really good tool.
Sure.
It's an odd screen with some other useful aspects. So Unabated would be the tool that I use most. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I would advocate for Unabated if you want sides and totals and prices. I would say that like some of these niche markets where if we're betting into awards or player props, one of like the kind of hidden beauties is there isn't really a widely used tool for that. And the fact that there isn't, and the fact that it's manual makes takes a little bit of the juice away from the people who are out there just spending 8 hours of their day looking at the screen, right? And that actually kind of makes it more fun, in my opinion. So, there's definitely an elegance to kind of digging yourself. The place I play the most frequently rarely even puts awards up. Like it's just you have to check all the time to see if they're up and see what you can get, see what the limits are, see what how aggressive the auto mover is. So it's kind of a fun art that's sort of lost with the advent of the real-time odd screens for sides and totals where I don't know how. I mean, congratulations if you figured out a way to make a living as an arbor.
Here we go.
That's so far away from my DNA. I just don't understand it.
No surprise.
Janelle Monáe?
No surprise.
I like Janelle Monáe's outfit. This is pretty nice.
Mine.
Yes. Great decision by the voters to elect Myles Garrett as our defensive player of the year.
Happy to knock out the 0.1% chance TJ Watt was going to get home. That's a big one. That's a good one.
All right, we can do some story time on this.
Yeah.
So I have him on record. This was the only one that I was really sweating. And the reason was this was the only one where I really had like relatively easy access to liquidity.
Yeah.
Preseason, I locked in a decent chunk on Parsons.
Yep.
Week 15, 16, it was clear Garrett should be favored over Parsons, but Parsons was still the favorite.
Yep.
We talked about it a dozen times.
Yeah.
I lost count.
No, big on Miles.
and,
a lot of Miles.
And at one point, kind of looking at before the Jets game,
yeah,
I was like, "This is going to be a mess.
Yeah.
This is going to be a mess. He's going to wreck
like
this
even
game.
money going into that game.
He's going to wreck this game." I was like, "Now is the time. Like, I just have to absolutely unload on it." And I was just intending to take my stake off of Parsons and get it onto Garrett.
Yeah,
that was my intention. But as I was clicking, there was resistance.
Yep.
On every click, somebody was coming back Parsons,
Yep.
coming back Parsons, coming back Parsons. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, this isn't just going to be an auto move it into oblivion and take me out of the game. There's somebody on the other side who thinks Parsons is still going to win.
Yep.
And so I generated an actual at-risk position on him coming through here. And this was the big one I needed.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Home.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot on the show about how Garrett's price never made sense. And Parsons had a really difficult schedule going down the end of the season where he had to go up against Josh Allen, Tua, and Goff in successive weeks. Quarterbacks who just never get sacked.
Yep.
And then the fear is that could he have like 4 sacks on Sam Howell? But I mean, even that, is he actually going to win? The Cowboys' defense, I think the shine came off it as well.
Yeah.
I will go to my grave thinking though that if TJ Watt in that final game against Baltimore, if he got his 3rd sack, which would have been 20 on the season, and has the heroic leads them to the playoffs, 3 sacks, wrecks the game in the second half.
Yeah,
I think he probably would have won.
Yeah,
if he got 1 more sack and if he didn't get hurt. The fact that he got hurt just kind of made it weird. He had no real momentum. After. It's like, he had a sick game, but he got hurt and he's going to miss the playoffs now.
Yeah, if he had gotten a 3rd sack, you'd be doing the stream by yourself.
Yeah, it's.
I would not be here because I would have taken a double L on Parsons and Garrett. So, real quick, file this away for next year.
Yeah.
Had a very good and very lively conversation with the great Aaron Schatz yesterday.
Yeah. Smart fellow.
He, of course, is of Football Outsiders pedigree and DVOA fame.
Yes.
And we were talking about what is signal in terms of teams progressing from mediocre to good over the balance of the season, right? Yep. And are there coaches that you see consistent tendencies? Are there teams that are consistently improving from week 1 to week 18?
Yep.
And he said Belichick was obviously the classical example but that was a little bit by design because they treated the first 4 weeks like preseason.
Yep.
Right. And so they were just by nature had, starting with a little bit of a deficit in DVOA.
Yep.
And then they would get good and they'd get into the winter months and they would get better. And he said the number 2 team, and then there's a huge gap, is the Steelers.
Right.
And that even with these relatively not super talented squads, they have consistently make runs into the close. And I think that's worth paying attention to because all of these awards it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yep.
Myles Garrett almost got run down, even though his best games were kind of in the first half of the year.
Yep.
And I think, just in general, the love for TJ Watt as a personality and the fact that the Steelers close hot has got to be on my mind, on everybody's mind for Defensive Player of the Year next year.
Yep. We got D-Roy coming up. I need Will Anderson in a big way here. Carter or Turner is death. So, whatever. How many voters know who Kobe Turner is? Come on.
Yeah, he's a Ram?
Yeah.
Kobe Turner is a Ram? I'm joking. I know where Kobe Turner plays. But we made a lot of jokes about the voting block might not know what team Kobe Turner plays for.
Come on. Give me the Texan. Oh, we got reading out Kirk Cousins. What does that mean? Is that Will Anderson?
It looks like him.
Why are they confused?
Will Anderson. Bang.
AFC South Division champs. Let's go.
2 of 3.
Yep, that's a big one. I'm really interested in what these counts were for the votes.
Yeah. Do you remember who tweeted those out last year?
Is it Rob Maddie? Is he the AP guy?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Good boy, Will.
That
was from the clouds. He was 50 to 1. I think it's 50 to 1 with 2 weeks left in the season.
Best price you got on Will Anderson?
Oh, I came in. My Will Anderson was
20-ish?
it was like in the plus 500 type
Okay.
of range. But that was in like the last week of the season, basically.
Yeah, I have some guys that I knew in the 20 and the 50 range that were these guys are big time draft liquidity guys.
Yep.
So there's gonna be extra liquid in the draft pools this year now because this was a big one for them. Hat tip to
I like this. I like this a lot. All right, 2 Texans down, 1 to go.
NFL award voting. Yeah, I want to know how close DPOY was.
Wow, D-Roy was really close.
Oh my goodness gracious!
So, Will
Jalen
Anderson-
Carter with a very close steal.
Will Anderson 16 first place votes, Carter and Turner 14 each, and then Will Anderson got him on seconds, and he was on 45 ballots, which I guess is the key there. And Carter was off ballot. Carter was off ballot 12 times.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
Well, I mean
Wow,
that
out.
defense stunk.
Yeah.
The last quarter of the season, people really did not.
Garrett was really close to losing.
Yeah, that was close. Well, he had 23 to 19 in first place votes. So that carried the day. And actually, you know what? Let's talk about this voting a little bit because the concept was there was going to be more. That's actually what it was. Parsons got 16 second places. Watt only got 11.
Yeah.
So there were people that felt it was important to put Watt first, and then it was really down ballot that pushed it enough in his favor.
It's so
Wow,
weird.
wow.
Yeah.
Wait a second. We need to take away a vote here.
Deron Bland.
Deron Bland got a first place
That's
vote
actually
for DPOY.
Deron Bland's mother is a member of the Associated
Oh,
Press.
okay, wait. We need to scrutinize who put Deron Bland number 1.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we'll probably never find out unless someone wants to declare it. There was a question earlier about why Myles Garrett wasn't the Defensive Player of the Year favorite late in the season. I mean, one, he should have been. I think it was wrong. We talked about that a lot on the show. But 2, I think the reason that the market underrated Garrett is that his sack total just wasn't overwhelming.
Sure.
Thanks for the question, Tom.
Yeah, you had to be paying attention to the game. You had to be watching the tape. He was so obviously just so monumentally disruptive.
Yes.
Right? Like the pressure stats, I think bore out that Parsons and Garrett were on another level.
Yep.
And pressures were somewhat subjective. It depends who's charting. But I don't think it mattered who was charting the Browns. Myles Garrett had so many moments that were just game-changing and so just generally disruptive. Whereas, TJ Watt, and this is not to be a dig at him at all. He's an amazing player. Love watching him play. But he is phenomenally opportunistic.
Yep.
Like he is at the right place at the right time to get the key play.
Yep.
Whereas Garrett was like just a havoc wreaker from whistle to whistle.
Yep.
Every snap he was on the field.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
I think there's a couple of things. One, like the advanced stats on Garrett, the pressures were lapping Watt for most of the season.
Yeah.
I think as well there was just a sense that the Steelers were just a mid team. And the defense was fine, but it wasn't a top 3 defense.
Yeah.
And there's 2 other aspects. One, I think everyone views Myles Garrett as a defensive player of the year. Obviously, he has that pedigree.
Yeah.
And it felt like his season, like if you think about defensive performances this year, the one that jumps to mind for me and what a lot of voters mentioned is that like Garrett beat the Colts by himself. Like that game was insane where he blocks the field goal, essentially forces a safety or a touchdown.
He forced the fumble that got recovered for a touchdown.
Yes. Yeah. And it began to feel like his year. I know that's very subjective and difficult to quantify, but that's the stuff that triggers these votes.
No question.
And the fact that he was on, of the 3 candidates, he was on by far the best defense.
Yeah.
He had the most moments as well. And I think that overcame the 5-sack difference to TJ Watt. Now, the fact that there was a 5-sack difference is why Garrett won so narrowly.
Yes, no question.
And this makes me believe this vote count. If TJ Watt got 1 more sack and got to 20, he would have won Defensive Player of the Year, I think. And if he didn't,
I think so too. I think that's very true.
So, I mean, you can.
Peter
King, the King who we had dinner with the other night. The morning of after his final FMIA column of the regular season, he was saying that it's going to be really tough to dethrone TJ Watt, and then he went through the process and he ended up voting Myles Garrett. because Garrett had those moments. And that was the sense. So that's a real knife's edge. And he lost because he got hurt, basically, I think.
Yeah. We got some Tommy DeVito, important character. He was a big character in the 2023 season, but an important big character, particularly for the New York metro area. Did you get caught up in the DeVito fever, being close to New York?
No, it cost me a lot of money in the Packers Monday night game. It was a disaster. I didn't realize he was just going to take off and run every time. Unbelievable.
Oh, man. DeVito's agent was a hit on Radio Row. I think he took about 900 selfies.
Yeah.
That was over under 899.5.
Question from John Charles. 2 Texans awards already. Have any pull on D'Amico's chances at all? I don't think so. I think that there is an idea that, while one team can't get too many awards, I don't think that's really how it works necessarily, where it's not like voters go in and they're like, well, I can only give the Houston Texans maximum 2 awards because, the Jets got 2 awards last year.
Sure.
And they were terrible. What I always use as the example as well is that, 2017, the Rams are 11-5 wildcard team.
Yeah.
They dominated by margin, winning Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year in Gurley, Donald, and McVay. The only thing is that I think it might have gotten a little bit weird if the Browns had swept 4 awards, which for a time was looking like a chance, Schwartz, Flacco, Stefanski, and Garrett. And I think at that point, maybe you do a double take and am I giving literally half the awards to Cleveland Browns, who are an 11-6 wildcard team? I think that might have gotten a little bit weird, but the Texans were arguably the story of the season.
Yeah.
Right. And so if they're going to get 3 awards, none of which are probably the most marquee awards of MVP and CPOY, and they're not going to get obviously either of those.
Yeah. Let's talk about the voting breakdown of Defensive Rookie of the Year, because I think it matters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There were 4 plus 1. Oh my goodness! Joey Porter Jr. got a first place award for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
For a weak field.
So 5, and basically only 16 voters voted Will Anderson first.
Yeah, but I think that was always the thing with Anderson, is that he had, in an imperfect field, he had the least flawed case. He had the least offensive case.
Yeah.
And Carter, the team just falling off a cliff, just destroyed them and destroyed him.
Yeah.
Kobe Turner, just not enough people knew who he was.
Yeah.
They didn't know what his impact was.
This is a pedigree thing. As I look at this distribution, the fact that there were a lot of ballots that went Anderson, Carter, Witherspoon.
Yep.
Because Witherspoon gets 16 third-place votes. The fact that those 3 guys were considered the best 3 defenders heading into the draft process, and that they got most of the votes, I think kind of underlies how people vote for this award.
Yep.
It's super tough to be so plugged into how young defensive players are impacting the game that I think a lot of this comes down to pedigree. Kobe Turner getting to 95 might as well be viewed as a win.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think what Anderson, it looks like it's narrow because it's 16 first place votes to 14 40. He won pretty comfortably in the end, 29 points in an award where it's pretty hard to gain more than 2 points at a time on him. That's a pretty emphatic victory, even if he didn't get the first. And what I think we talked about this on the pod is that Anderson was always going to get a ton of second place votes, right? Because it's just pretty hard to have him lower than second.
He got more second place than first.
Yeah, and in this new format of 5-3-1
ranked choice, he would have won in the old format by the skin of his teeth, by the hair on his nose. So the breakdown is exactly correct. Where I think everyone that voted for Carter 1 put Anderson 2.
Yeah,
and a lot of people that voted for Anderson 1 didn't ballot Carter.
Yeah, no, I think that's. Jalen Carter being off 12 ballots is pretty insane. Someone who's literally a minus 20,000 favorite with 2 weeks left in the season.
Yeah,
I think the lesson out of that market, and it's a little flawed, but the lesson is that when you have a vulnerable favorite, there's obviously often value down the board. And Jalen Carter was minus 20,000 when he didn't have a really strong case at all. But to be fair, Will Anderson won this award because in the second last week of the season, was it second last when they played the Titans? Yeah, they played the Titans in the second last week of the season. Yeah, and he had 2 sacks in that game, and that got his numbers back to respectability. Got him 7 sacks on the season. Yeah. If he has 0 sacks in that game,
he hit the floor. With those 2.
Exactly. If he has 0 sacks in that game, he had 0 sacks in the Colts game at the end because he couldn't move. Yeah. Then I don't think he can win with 5 sacks. I think Carter wins at that point. But here's the thing, and here's why I don't think even Will Anderson was an amazing bet going into that week. He played 12 snaps in the Titans game. He played 12 snaps. And the odds of him getting 2 sacks in 12 snaps were longer than his odds of winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. And he needed to get that to have a chance.
Yes.
And you could say that, all right, well, maybe it's bad luck to an extent that, he was playing hurt and everything, and he got hurt to that extent and didn't have enough in the Colts game. But that was, that's how he got it done in the end. Pretty close and ridiculous.
Long-term opinion of this class? Anyone that you think is like a standout All-Pro for many years to come?
Yeah, I think Anderson and Carter. Okay. Those are the 2 guys. Devin Witherspoon, who heard some amazing stories about Devin Witherspoon actually while being in the Super Bowl. Like, all good in terms of just him being, the way that he plays like a kind of heat-seeking missile on the field. Apparently that's how he is like in real life as well. He is an intense figure.
He's not faking. He's not faking.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a very intense dude. I love it.
But yeah, and then those would be the 3 guys I think are relevant. I mean, Carter kind of fell off a cliff in terms of his production in the second half.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
I mean, he's playing half the snaps, and I think he was dealing with. He had a back for a while. He missed the game with an injury.
Is it reading too much? Is it projecting that some of the knocks on him in the draft process were his conditioning, and that he eventually ran out of gas before the other rookies?
I mean, yeah, potentially. It's not ideal if you can only play half the snaps, obviously. I think if you were drafting these defensive guys again, I think Anderson goes first. Okay. Like, Anderson was better than his sack numbers. Anderson's pressures, when you look at what his pressures should have produced in terms of sacks, it was a lot bigger. I think his pass rush win rate was like 3rd in the NFL behind Garrett and Parsons.
It was good, yeah.
And he was the guy. But to squeak it out and to win with 16 first-place votes is pretty incredible. I still can't believe TJ Watt was so close to beating Myles Garrett. That's insane.
It was very, very close call.
I can't believe
TJ Watt almost ruined our night. I mean, that was a very close call.
23 firsts to 19. I would have set the first-place gap there at
it would have been karmic because I had an ongoing bit about the Steelers all year, and if they had ultimately cost me in that, I would have deserved it, I guess. Yeah. that Steelers team was really tough to handicap, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah, that was bizarre. CJ Stroud wins comfortably, naturally, 48 firsts.
Yeah. 2 votes for Puka.
2 votes for Puka. Perhaps 2 votes from the LA market. But yeah, it is interesting to think what would have happened if Stroud didn't play well in that last game.
Didn't Pete Prisco say he was doing Puka because he broke the record? I think Prisco and one other person.
I think Chris Sims said he was leaning Puka going into the last week.
Okay.
And then it just quickly flipped to Stroud. Stroud to have that game on national television. Yeah. To show up in that spot.
Basically, the offensive rookie of the year ballots, there were 48 almost identical ballots. That was unanimous 1, 2, 3. Yeah. The defensive rookie of the year is funny because Joey Porter Jr. got 1 first-place vote. Devin Witherspoon got 4 first-place votes. Yaya Diaby got a first-place vote for defensive rookie of the year. Did not see that coming. Not a lot of respect for Brian Branch. Only 6 third-place votes. He was awesome. Who in the world put Jack Campbell as their number 2?
Jack Campbell was bad.
Number 2, he got a second-place vote.
That's the thing is, like, with these awards, like, there's Defensive Rookie of the Year is probably the most obscure of all the awards.
Surely.
Like, I'm not sure every voter is, like, paying a ton of attention to Kalijah Cansey on a week-to-week basis.
Do you think somebody just sorted, like, tackles and rookie year and just like, Campbell's near the top, I'll vote for him? Because that is a really absurd one.
I think to me, Kobe Turner's really interesting just as a case. I didn't really know what to do with his case towards the end of the season because it's, I think a big part of these awards in a way is a candidate having the chance to have their case dissected. Yeah. And this was the thing with bloody Emmanuel Quickly, with Sixth Man of the Year, is that he got so ingrained in the convo early enough that people started to pick apart his case and focus on the starts. Yep. I think with Kobe Turner, he came into it so late that we didn't have a discussion about, he plays next to Aaron Donald. Yeah. Like he's not actually that, like, he's good. He's definitely good, but he's not the same level of player as Jalen Carter and Will Anderson.
He had 3 sacks against who? The Giants? I don't remember what game it was, but he had a late 3-sacker. Yeah. And that was where
he kind of cleaned up.
Yeah, it was one game with 3 sacks late in the season that put him in the discussion because that was enough to get noticed.
Tyrikill's not announcing Coach of the Year, is he? I don't like that. I think we're one award
This
away.
has got to be fan moment of the year or something like that.
Okay, that would.
I don't know what this is. I didn't actually see. Flag football's rising star of the year. Oh no, Tirico was the flag football player of the year. I thought. Okay. There's some. We're in the absurd territory awards.
We're about 2 minutes away from Coach of the Year, which is a relatively big life moment in these parts.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Good news is what? Bad news is what?
Well, good news is Dimico Ryans. Bad news is any other name that comes out of his mouth, which will only be Kevin Stefanski.
Okay.
This market closed pick the day of the final game, and so my handicap going into the final week was that Dimico, if he beat the Colts, he was effectively picked to win, and then if that also came with the division, then he becomes a kind of material fave. But that was a really strange market because after Stefanski beat the Jets, and even after Dimico beat the Titans later that weekend, I thought that market was effectively done. I thought Stefanski was, minimum 90% to win that market. I thought Dimico was the threat, but then what happened is that a lot of voters came out and said, no, I'm leaning Dimico. It's like, he's not even in the playoffs right now. What are you talking about? How can you be leaning Dimico Ryans over Kevin Stefanski? But I think that created the idea that he could be a Brian Daboll type of situation where just a swell of momentum gets behind him. I think that's the main takeaway from this award, is that with Coach of the Year, is that you can win it late. It's a very subjective award, and you can build momentum in this award like basically no other market, because it is so subjective.
Yeah, and I think there was a question earlier about the degree that recency bias plays into all of these markets, and I don't think that's an especially novel concept. Like, how you're finishing the season matters an enormous amount, but it became easy to select Ryans, in my opinion, because he fit a classical mold.
Yep.
He was like, you were the overachiever.
Yep.
And if there is a clear overachiever, that's kind of a comfortable place for a lot of voters to default, because it's a little bit fluid. How do you define Coach of the Year?
Yep. No, absolutely. And here's the thing with Ryans, as we say, 60 seconds before he loses to Kevin Stefanski. But the thing with Ryans is that if you just laid out before the season, Kevin Stefanski is going to go 11-6. He's going to start 4 quarterbacks and have a ton of injuries. Or Dimico Ryans is going to be a 10-win division winner. Yeah. Like, it's not even close. Like, Demico's off the board at that point.
Yes.
But the way it unfolded and sequencing and the market reacting, like, the thing is that when you're a minus 1,000 favorite with a week to go in the season, like, you just kind of, people just go, it's over, it's done. And in this case, it wasn't.
We have an upset, by the way, not in Coach of the Year, but in Fan of the Year. It went to this Green Bay Packer fan named Justin Hartley, not the Charger lady. Oh, wow, that is a shocker.
Oh, no.
That's a shocker.
Justin Hartley's the actor. That's Justin Hartley, the actor.
Oh, it says NFL Fan of the Year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Justin Hartley is the actor. The Fan of the Year is the guy next to him.
Yeah, he's just a random dude.
I don't know my actor.
How do we read into the Green Bay? So, according to our rundown anyway, the Fan of the Year is going to announce the Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and that was the Packer guy, right?
Yeah, which is fine because Matt LaFleur's not a candidate, so nothing to read into that.
Okay.
I hate these elongated kind of introductions.
I'm just shocked that the Charger gal was not the Fan of the Year. She did more for the Chargers fandom in LA than anyone has done since they fired Staley, I guess.
Yeah. Kenny Miller says Stefanski was playing 5th and 6th O-lineman. I take your point, Kenny. I would have voted Stefanski over Ryans, but I can only bet what.
We polled the active users in our Discord just to get a sense of who they would vote for, like just their opinion.
Yeah.
And Stefanski won over Ryans. So I think there is a football-minded really appreciation for what he did.
Yeah.
And
that's the fate. Our fate's frozen at the.
That was a bad time.
Stefanski? Oh my God! He actually got home.
Really?
Oh my God! One additional first vote.
Guacamole!
Unbelievable! Oh my God!
It's Stefanski.
By 1 vote. You've got to be kidding me. Oh my God! That's ridiculous.
Oh no!
Oh no! I cannot believe that.
Stefanski.
Boy, oh boy!
Wow!
He actually got home.
Wow!
By 1 vote. Oh my God.
Jay, I'm sorry. That's tough.
All right. Well, I'll live with Stefanski, but we just cannot now have Joe Flacco winning comeback player of the year. Oh my God, Stefanski did it
Yeah.
by one vote.
Schwartz got the assistant of the year, and Stefanski got the coach of the year.
Unreal.
Wow.
No bueno.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God.
That's a wild
I'm
one, man.
stunned by that.
It was a tie. It was a virtual tie.
It was a
It was
tie. and he lost
165 to 165. You got him with the tiebreaker.
I can't believe that.
Holy
That
cow.
is absolutely insane.
Holy cow. It was
By one third place vote.
one third place vote.
Well, it was tied, and that's unbelievable.
Wow. You know what is almost the most shocking part about this? And
He's off ballot.
he's off. Ryan's is off a lot of ballot.
Well, he's off 7 ballots.
That's a lot.
Stefanski was off 5.
For a shocking division winner and a win improvement to the tune of like 8 wins. How in the
Oh
world?
my God, I can't believe that.
Were they a 2-win team last year or a 3-win team?
They
2,
were-
right?
They
2 or
were.
3. They won the last
3.
game of the season, but was
Yeah.
that their third win?
I think it was 3 wins.
Okay, so what was that? It's still a 7-win improvement. That's
Yeah.
wild.
I guess it speaks to like a guy
That's
gets entrenched going into the
wild.
last week, but I'm shocked that I would have said that D'Amico was like 95 to 97%
Whew.
into that, but
Woo-hoo-hoo.
unbelievable.
Wow. I know. Coach of the year. Ooh, man. You got the bad
I got
coach
the
of the year
bad
juju.
Coach of the year juju.
Woo. Man.
For it to be tied is insane.
This was...
I didn't even know there was a tiebreak of more first place votes.
I had no idea either.
Surely you gotta-
We are learning live that there are tiebreakers.
You got a dead heat rule?
This is crazy, man.
Unreal.
Did you think they made up the tiebreaker after they had the tie?
I don't know.
Because I definitely don't recall it.
I'm in shock.
I don't recall this.
No.
Because back in the day, of course, very famously, Steve McNair and Peyton Manning had equal number of MVP votes, and they gave them co-MVPs. So there is precedent to award co-awards. So they'd made a decision, even though they each had 165 overall points, that they were going to break the tie.
Yeah. Well,
Unbelievable.
I guess that's if you're gonna have a tiebreak, I guess that makes sense as one. But yeah, and he was on more ballots. But
Wow.
yeah, I can't believe that.
Wow.
the
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I just am excited to find out why Kevin Stefanski happens to be flying home to New York instead of going back to Cleveland to torture you further.
Yeah.
In a repeat of last year.
Yeah.
That's a wild one, man.
That is,
What would you put the market at before this show?
I would have said Stefanski was like 20 to 1,
20-1.
based on the votes that were out there,
Yeah.
and also the fact that Ryan's won the PFWA Coach of the Year, and it's all the polling. Yeah, just looking now at the ballots.
This to me looks like a lot of people might have made their votes before the last week of the season. when
Yeah, I
Ryan's
think
got
that's
that win.
probably the factor.
Because the idea that there's as many Campbells, Shanahans, and Harbaughs on here is kind of interesting. Harbaugh getting 10 third place votes is kind of insane.
Yep.
Like, people still want to down ballot acknowledge the 1 seeds,
Yeah.
which hurts Ryan's in a bad way. Only 2 third place votes is really surprising.
How is Sean McDermott getting a third place vote? Todd Bowles? I guess Todd Bowles is more vaguely defensible. Mike McDaniel? That's ridiculous. It's also ridiculous that Steichen only gets 4 third place votes and nothing else.
We can't make the joke that Tomlin's never gotten a vote before either. He
No.
got 1 second and 2 third places.
Good for Tomlin. Oh my God.
Wow, man. This is a real shocker. We knew there was going to be something.
Unbelievable.
How about there 3 first places for Kyle Shanahan? I would not have guessed that.
I think it was, Shanahan's a reasonable candidate to choose.
I mean, I agree. I like it. I like that there is a segment of the voting block that is literally like, this is the best coach.
Yeah.
as opposed to like he exceeded my expectations the most, and that's why I'm giving him this award.
Yeah, no, I think that Shanahan, I thought with a few weeks ago that I thought going into the Baltimore game he was a real chance.
You know what's even more absurd? This is number 2 for Stefanski.
I know, it's like, I was going to take it.
Number 2. This is his second coach of the year.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And also, like, if they underachieve with Deshaun Watson next year, he could very well be fired. Like, that was not crazy.
Yeah, no,
right?
100%.
Yeah. And, like, his best decision as a head coach this year was hiring a defensive coordinator.
Yep. It's I'm surprised Schwartz both got assistant coach of the year, and Stefanski gets coach of the year, and then Garrett gets CPOY. The team wins 3 awards.
Was the what happened with where did the Cleveland groundswell come from that they needed all of this?
I think enough people just made up their minds about Stefanski going into the last week.
Do you think it was that Thursday night game against the Jets where people were all like way dialed into what the Browns were doing and the fact that they were so dominant in that New York market game?
I mean, I think that was kind of the crowning moment for him, but I think, it kind of speaks to I think back to Offensive Player of the Year a year ago.
We had a dead heat on closing odds.
Dead heat on final votes.
Dead heat on final votes count. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, this is a shocker, man.
Yeah.
You know what, though? You can get him next year.
Get him next year.
Get him next year.
All right. Well.
What's your big liability for NBA Coach of the Year? Just out of curiosity.
And then Tyler.
Okay.
Clippers lost to the Pelicans last night, a 6.5 point favorite. Sorry about Tyler.
Okay. Okay.
We got 10 minutes until the next award, which is Offensive Player of the Year.
CMC heavy favorite.
I think this is done.
I think it's over. CMC closed minus 303.
Yeah, but that was before Tyreek lost Sunday Night Football, so I think this is 99.9%. I think Tyreek had a chance to steal it in the final week if he'd gone off against Buffalo, but he obviously didn't do that. So I think this is very much wrapped up.
Yeah. What do you think of? What do you think of the fact that Tyreek Hill looked like he was, in general, unable to handle a 17-game season health-wise, and that this is now becoming a little bit of a pattern? Like, does that take him out of serious consideration for you next year?
No, it doesn't take him out of consideration. I think he's probably more of a health risk than other kind of elite receivers. I know that Jefferson dealt with the hamstring and stuff, but just given his size and the damage he's taken and the fact that there seems to be something wrong with his ankles every year, and also the fact that he just has, I think, a bigger workload on him in Miami than he did in Kansas City. So between all that, I think that, he's more likely to get injured than CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. And maybe Jamar Chase, so Chase gets hurt as well. Yeah. But ultimately, I think he still has the highest ceiling of any receiver. I think he should probably. Jefferson probably opens his favorite and Tyreek's second.
That sounds right. If we reframe this award and define it differently for the voters, does it change? And the reframing would be like the most irreplaceable offensive player, because I feel like Christian McCaffrey, although outstanding this year, I don't know that I have a huge difference of opinion about the Niners getting the 1 seed, even if he was not on the seed for a large part of the season. Maybe I'm crazy.
I'm not sure McCaffrey would be on my ballot, honestly. I guess he would be, but I definitely have Tyreek first. I'd give serious thought to CeeDee Lamb being second. I know there's a stench on the Cowboys, but it's a regular season award.
Yeah. Are you okay with the Offensive Player of the Year becoming effectively a skill position only?
Yeah, I think that's what it should be. I think they should rename the award. It's the thing, and I guess you can't do that. But it is a little bit silly. It kind of introduces an interesting element. If, say, next season that Lamar Jackson breaks the all-time yardage record or whatever, and it's a weak crop of skill position players, then my sense is it probably defaults to a quarterback at that point. Like Mahomes won it relatively recently, but I think there is kind of the acceptance now that it is an award that just goes to the best receiver or running back. I thought Kelsey actually had a chance at one point last year when he was having, arguably the greatest tight end season of all time, but it's going to go receiver or running back.
Wow.
Unreal.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
I don't know if this is health. This is good for our mental health to be doing this to you, Jay. This isn't right.
We'll see about my mental health after comeback player.
I skated on my close call, and you got tiebreakers. This is crazy.
Woo. What do you think the comeback player of the year vote is?
48-2.
It's not going to be that.
It's not going to be that lopsided. Realistically, I'm going to set the over/under on first place votes for Hamlin at 30.5.
Okay. All right. I think I'll take the under on that, but I think he will. I think he will win. I think it's going to be actually tighter than people expect with Mayfield.
Okay.
If Flacco wins, you'll never see me again. Genuinely never see me again. Then I'm walking to Momofuku alone, and I'm dying alone without the rest of our parties.
I'll buy you dinner, man. Oh no! Oh my goodness! They got a lot of stars to come out for this, by the way. This is like a A-list type of deal with some of these announced. Except I don't know who Josh Hartley is apparently.
Justin Hartley. Josh Hartley's the vaguely reminiscent player to the New York Knicks.
Is he like in Marvel movies or something? Why have I never heard of Justin?
No, I had to Google him as well, so I went through the same process. You didn't look at it right now. I was like, is the NFL fan of the year Justin Hartley? No, he's in some like CBS drama or something.
Oh, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not quite at that age demographic. I'm getting close, but I'm not quite there. 5 days in Vegas is going to try to get me pretty close to the CBS age demographic, but I'm not quite there yet.
Who's this? This is Justin Jefferson?
Yes. And the gal from HBO and all the movie star now, including American Fiction, whose name is escaping me.
Announcing Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, man. Justin Hartley, Fox Crane, and the NBC daytime soap opera Passion.
Oh, we love Justin Hartley.
Oh,
one of us.
Justin Hartley guy.
One of us.
He's in the Peacock family. But yeah, the confusion over him being the NFL fan of the year and the Packer year, I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. Can Hamlin get you above water, Jay?
I mean, he was a big win overall, but it just wasn't D'Amico level type win. So look, it's going to be Stefanski was I think Stefanski is probably my best result across any of the award markets, but it's just not D'Amico. D'Amico would have been
big.
Would have been the mother load.
The mother load.
About to announce Offensive Player of the Year, which will surely be Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Interesting that they brought out last year's winner to announce this year's winner.
Well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Christian
McCaffrey.
That's the lip
rating. I appreciate
the clear lip rating.
The clear enunciation so that we can tell. Yes.
Big CMC. No, Tyreek. Hate to see Tyreek not winning the award.
It's just an honor to be nominated. Yeah. It's just an honor to be nominated.
One of the funniest thing about Radio Row is just like for anyone who doesn't know, Radio Row is this like convention center. This year it's in Mandalay Bay in Vegas, where it's just like a ton of stalls and mini studios set up. Sure. And the weirdest thing about it is just like they're trying to get a water out of the fridge, the NBC fridge, and there's a guy blocking my way, and I asked him to get out of the way, and it's Justin Jefferson. It's like, someone's going weird. It's
Excuse me, Jay Jettas. I need to get water out of the fridge behind you.
We saw Myles Garrett walk past us.
Yeah.
You have Myles Garrett.
Yes.
He is
oh my goodness,
one of the largest human beings I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
It's like his butt is just another like quad muscle.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes. It's impossible.
Yeah.
He defies physics without question.
It makes
I need them to play off McCaffrey. Let's get him off his legs here. Get off your feet, McCaffrey. Play him off. We don't need to hear any more of this speech. Let's get him rested. In fact, you know what? he's not going to win MVP. He should just head home now, get an early night's sleep, and be ready to go on Sunday.
Yeah. My mum just told me to not worry about D'Amico Ryans and that I still have 3 beautiful children. It's true. I do have.
She knows exactly what to say at exactly the right time. It's great. Think about what matters most, not about what might have been if it would have been D'Amico. Yeah.
All right. Well, the Stefanski is a real downer, but at the same time, still a win for me overall.
Yes.
Comeback player is the one that'll actually really sink my mood. If Joe Flacco wins comeback player,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I think Hamlin is it's so hard because it's all built up in other stuff, but Hamlin I think is a slightly better result, but I will live with Baker Mayfield and be happy with Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
If Flacco wins, I'll see you later.
All right, let's talk about the voting breakdown for Offensive Player of the Year without looking at it.
Sure.
Over/under on first place votes for McCaffrey.
I would have said first place votes for McCaffrey 36.5.
Ooh, it's over 39.
Okay,
first place. That's a pretty healthy percentage.
Yeah.
Number 2 first place vote getter was of course Tirico.
Yep.
Also getting first place votes. You want to guess?
CeeDee Lamb.
Yes, he got 1.
Yes, and that's it.
Nope.
Lamar Jackson.
3 for Lamar Jackson.
That makes sense.
Yes, they do need to just rewrite the rules of this award.
Yeah,
I think we're there. We're long past there. Honestly,
I think with this award, I don't think there's any real takeaways outside of all the value to be had in this award was in the first month of the season, where I think it became pretty clear in the first month that just there were 3 guys in this market. Yeah, and this is the way I bet this award is that I loaded up on McCaffrey, Hill, and Jefferson.
Yep.
So I thought they had just bigger ceilings than anyone else, and that the idea that, you could maybe Jamar Chase or whoever at that time, Stephon Diggs was a top 5 favorite in the market. They could maybe beat one of those 3, but the idea of beating all 3 of them, just given their ceilings, just improbable.
Didn't Chase close favorite, or was that?
I think Chase was the favorite going into the season,
but even though Burrow was hurt. I don't remember how that went.
I think Chase was like a 12-1 favorite at the start of the year.
Yeah.
But
OPOY, so basically you're saying OPOY is not one where you really want to go against the chalk in general.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is that I thought that A.J. Brown really got in the mix because he went on that surgery, just putting up, 125 and a touchdown constantly.
Such a stink on the Eagles, he did not even get 1 third place vote.
Yeah, I mean, they fell apart. He was not great towards the end of the year. So,
you know what's fun though? You know who did get a vote? Brock Purdy. He got a second place vote.
Yeah,
the true shocker of them all, Travis Etienne got a third place vote, which I think is a tough sell for me.
Yes.
But ultimately, I think the top 3 are correct. Christian McCaffrey was on every single ballot.
Yep. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, I think this was Tyreek Hill's award, and he just got hurt.
Yeah.
I think if he stays healthy, then he wins. So he was getting in the range where he was like minus 160, and I thought that he was effectively a bet on health and maybe some variance, and he should have been minus 350. And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was. I think he is less of an injury risk than McCaffrey, just given McCaffrey's history and just the running back position. But Hill got hurt, and that's
how it goes.
That's just how it goes. That was the same thing last year because Jefferson really tailed off last year. Towards the end, as the Vikings lost some games, and he didn't have great. He had one terrible game against the Packers, but Tyreek was just playing hurt at the end of the year and couldn't get him either.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I don't feel bad for Tyreek Hill not winning these awards.
We agree. We're there. Yeah, we're on the same page. We got about 20 minutes to vamp.
Yeah.
I don't really need to reflect on guys who are going to go to the Hall of Fame, although I think these are all fine choices.
Julius Peppers.
I think that's a great choice. Julius Pepper. What do you think of naming a returner like Devin Hester to the Hall of Fame? Does that rub you the wrong way, or you think it's worth acknowledging the best of all time at a specific skill set?
I think he has to be in.
Yeah.
He's the greatest ever. I don't think it's particularly close. All right.
We agree.
So, as you mentioned, we've got 18 minutes until Jay Crouch's Reckoning arrives in the Comeback Player of the Year market. So if anyone has any questions, please shoot them through.
I got two important ones for you. Can you price for me the top of the DPOY market in 2024?
Yep. So your favorite will be Micah Parsons.
4-1.
Yeah, that type of range.
Okay.
Your second favorite will be Myles Garrett. Your
5, 6.
Yeah, 5-1. Your third favorite will be TJ Watt.
Yep.
Fourth favorite, Nick Bosa, and fifth favorite, Max Crosby. Fifth favorite, maybe Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay.
Crosby fifth and Hutchinson sixth, I think.
Okay.
The thing with Hutchinson that's weird is that, and I'm not sure how much people pay attention to this, but like an outlier majority of Hutchinson's sacks come after like the quarterback has held the ball for like 3.5 seconds or more.
Sure.
Like he is a motor guy.
Yes.
Like he is not beating guys like immediately like the way that Parsons and Garrett do.
Yes.
I think Parsons and Garrett are kind of in their own tier with that ability.
Okay.
I think Watt, Crosby, and Bosa are in the kind of next tier. Maybe Hutchinson's not that tier, but I think this award goes through Parsons and Garrett.
So let's talk about Parsons' candidacy for a minute.
Yeah.
It felt like this season, and really the last couple seasons, Dan Quinn was pretty impactful in kind of turning him into the talent, to be in the discussion.
Yep.
Does the fact that this is now the Mike Zimmer show change your opinion of what the Dallas defense can be next year?
I think the main thing for them is just getting Trayvon Diggs healthy.
Okay.
Right? And if Diggs is healthy, then it's a bit of a different ball game. And I think they were on track to be, not an all-time defense, but certainly a top 2 defense in the league before Diggs went down. And I think a lot of these teams, and we're probably at the Niners are another example of this, where a lot of teams, like, they just don't get quick pressure.
Okay.
They don't generate quick pressure, then everything just looks worse on the back end.
Okay.
And it just seemed like if Lawrence and Parsons weren't getting home, then Dallas were in big trouble, and that kind of manifested in almost comical extent in the wild card round against Green Bay.
Yeah, they probably go, free agency to fortify the linebacker position and then draft corners?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if it's Van Der Esch, like, it's not, I think they can probably upgrade at linebacker.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if you've got Gilmore, Bland for all, like, the, kind of spitting on Jerome Bland, he's still a good cornerback, and he's going to be like a number 3 corner. Then he's probably the best number 3 corner in the NFL. And if Gilmore's a 2/3, that's fine. There's just Diggs coming in. Diggs was playing like the best corner in the league.
Yeah.
And if he is at that level, then it's probably a pretty awesome defense.
Okay. So how do you price the top of the Offensive Player of the Year market for next year? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit. You start with Jefferson and Hill as co-favorites.
Yeah. And I think this market is actually probably the easiest to price before the season because this is a fantasy award. It's a fantasy football award.
Sure.
And fantasy football is now, it's a very efficient market. There are a lot of people who are paid to talk about it, including myself.
Sure.
And there's just so much fantasy
Noted
football.
fantasy expert.
Yes,
Jay
Crusher. Yes. Big fantasy guy.
Yes.
And there is just a lot of info and a lot of thought that makes fantasy a fairly liquid market.
Yeah.
You don't have just random guys going 4th in the draft when they shouldn't. There's a reason a guy will go 4th overall. And so I think for the most part, outside of a little skewing for guys are overvalued, if they're running backs, you get a lot of receptions. Austin Eckler's not going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Yep. I agree with that.
But it's going to be the guys who are top of the list in fantasy who are your Offensive Player of the Year favorites. So that's Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey. I think those are probably your top 3 again.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Jamar Chase is amazing. Is Jamar Chase as good as Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill?
Probably
I don't
not.
think he is.
No.
I think he's probably next. And then your tier of CD, AJ Brown, and Chase. And then the interesting thing is the running backs after McCaffrey, because it's definitely a drop.
Who's RB2?
In fantasy, it might be Kyron Williams.
Okay.
It might be RB2. Okay. Jonathan Taylor, though I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get touchdowns vultured away from him at the goal line by Anthony Richardson.
Okay. Jahmyr Gibbs.
I mean, he's got upside, but I think that
the
way they're structured, it'll probably be still some David Montgomery or a David Montgomery type of operator. So,
we're probably forgetting someone. I don't know.
I mean, Bijan Robinson is a flyer.
Yeah, he'll be in the mix there for sure.
I think that.
Chubb coming back?
I was going to say. Breece Hall is another guy.
Breece Hall, he could be very well up there. Yeah.
Okay. comeback player of the year market for next year is actually maybe the most interesting one of all, because it's like Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Nick Chubb coming back. Like there's just going to be a ton of candidates. I suspect with all the quarterbacks, it's probably going to be a quarterback. But I mean, Nick Chubb has an awesome story.
Yes.
And I think if people have a choice, they'll want to vote Nick Chubb over Aaron Rodgers.
I would agree. What do you think of this shtick from Kyle Brandt, who of course is from Real World Chicago fame?
Yeah.
You remember Real World Chicago?
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
We're watching on mute with closed captions, which is absolutely.
I do not know what's happening.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying watching this with closed.
They're trying to get the energy up. Is this like the play of the year?
Angry run type of thing?
Angry run of the year? Is this FedEx Ground Player of the Year? I'm very confused here. I didn't know Connor was up for an award. That's surprising to me.
I had a couple of years ago in my most depressing result, and D'Amico doesn't even hold a candle to this, but Jonathan Taylor, as I've talked about ad nauseum, going down from 70-1 for Offensive Player of the Year. After he lost that, I had a friend text me, well, at least he won FedEx Ground Player of the Year. Like, I didn't have a bet on that.
There's no market for that. There's no market for that.
I don't care about Jonathan Taylor being FedEx Ground Player of
I'm
the Year.
not a fan
I
of
don't
him
think he cares
personally.
about it.
No.
FedEx Ground Player of the Year. So what is this? Best fend-offs? Best angry runs?
I am really confused. Don't know exactly why they're holding us in suspense here.
Yeah.
But that's fine. This is according to... We haven't seen Michael Vick and Taraji P. Henson come out yet. Oh, they're doing comeback. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry to spoil that for you. We're going to see Vick and Taraji P. Henson.
Michael Vick, I guess he won the award.
Yeah.
That was a weird one. The Michael Vick won Comeback Player of the Year.
Yes.
I guess he atoned in the community and everything, right? He was he did a lot of work in the community.
Yes, I guess that was it was a two-sided acknowledgement.
Yes.
You've improved yourself as a human,
and he was amazing.
And he was an amazing player.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Deshaun Watson will win next year.
No, I also agree with that. He doesn't seem to be as inclined to improve himself as a player. I agree with that.
Interesting awards, a little macabre, but whatever. Do you think that? Do you think if Deshaun Watson has by far the best MVP case next season, that he would win MVP?
I don't think so.
I think he would.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he will, because I think he might be the 28th best quarterback.
Well, that's the problem. But I mean, if he's
honestly,
just like,
I don't even know. Like, people weren't taking me seriously on this, but I almost feel like I would have a better price on the Browns if Flacco was QB1 out of the gate for them next year, as opposed to Watson.
I don't think
Watson
Flacco
was
is good.
Watson didn't really show you anything this year.
I think a lot of the Flacco thing was like, it was kind of evident when he was playing from behind a bit that they really didn't want to get him into must-throw scripts where he's a sitting duck. Like, he still can't move.
Yeah,
I understand he had that weird touchdown to Jerome Ford, but like, the man can't move.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mobility is a problem. A full season is not going to be great with him.
Deshaun still has the
ceiling.
I
guess it's just more of a commentary on how low I am on Watson right now. Like, he had one splash game week 3
against the Titans. Yeah, he lit up the Titans.
And then he had the good half against the Ravens.
Well, that is like literally the last time we saw Deshaun Watson. He went 14 for 14 in the second half with a fractured shoulder and a high ankle sprain against the best defense in football in their home stadium.
Okay.
I think there's something there.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like he was
1.5 games out of a 17-game season where he impressed.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I thought just athletically he looked better though.
Okay.
Until he fractured his shoulder.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were weird.
Yes. So is the Ryan's Coach of the Year? Is that your worst bad beat of the season?
No, because I had a lot of Stefanski. It's just like you can't. At least I find that you can't get as upset when it's like, well, I won a good amount, I just didn't win more.
Yeah.
The one that will really hurt, and I won't fake it, is if Flacco was comeback player, because that takes a massive win to a massive loss. So I don't have a cent on Joe Flacco comeback player.
How about just in game-by-game betting? Do you have any especially memorable losses?
Painful beats?
Yeah.
I mean, I was heavily on Alabama to beat Michigan. And from when they were 10 up late, and to be fair, I was also on Alabama to beat Georgia, and I feel like I got a little bit lucky at the end there with Miller fumbling. But Alabama, the fact that to me, what Michigan was probably the better team, they probably deserved to win. It was the fact that the guy muffed the punt, and somehow it wasn't a safety.
Yeah, he recovered it in the field of play.
I can't believe
Crazy.
one, that he recovered it at the one, and then two, got rocked and it didn't fall out the air. I cannot believe he held on to that ball.
Yes.
It's absolutely stunning to me.
Yes, that was like his life depended on it, and he managed to hold on to it. Yeah. No, the worst beats for me this season were all in college football.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
The Duke beating Wake Forest was absolute misery.
Yep.
The famous Toastery Bowl, where ODU blew a 28-point lead, that was my worst beat of the season from how in the world did this happen.
Yep.
NFL, I think my worst loss, or my least favorite loss, was the backdoor by the Cardinals against the Ravens. That was one of two onside kicks that was recovered all season.
Yep.
Got the Cardinals in the back door with the late field goal.
Yep.
That was absolutely painful and unnecessary.
Yep.
Like, just didn't need that in my life.
Yep.
I don't think I had any like truly bad beats.
Yep.
I feel for the people who had laid 2.5 with the Texans against the Bucks.
Yes.
And the Texans kicker got hurt. And so rather than
I had that. Yeah, I know I had some of that. That was a pretty bad one. I was on that.
That was bad.
Yeah,
that was quite bad.
Yeah.
A 2-point win, kneeling out the extra point attempt.
I had Texans 2.5 there.
That was bad.
That was brutal.
That was quite bad.
Given that apparently the broadcast is a bit behind schedule. Comeback play was supposed to be 7:30. Might be a few minutes behind that. Given that we're doing story time, my worst beat of all time. I told you about this for the first time a couple nights ago. Is I had a massive position on this Bolivian soccer game a few years ago.
That's
it was
right.
Nacional Potosi against. The team's called the Strongest. It's in the team name is in English for some reason. And
I feel like this is on you for fading the Strongest.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember which team was I with. I think I was on Potosi or whatever. Okay. Anyway, I got word, and it's not like this was an inside source or anything. It was available on Bolivian Soccer Twitter, if you're hunting that down. There was basically word that the Strongest were going to, their adult team was going to basically refuse to play in the game, and they were going to go on strike. And so they were going to get replaced by the youth team. It was like a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Of course.
And so the market didn't respond to this, even though the information was out there. I was able to get a fair bit down on Nacional Potosi, given that I had 28-year-old professional men going up against 16-year-old boys.
It's usually a good situation.
And so I'm basically I was getting like plus 120 on this, when it's surely like minus 10,000 at that point. The problem is that, so my team, Nacional Potosi, they're about to head out. But then their players start to go on strike as well, in solidarity with the veteran players on the Strongest.
They didn't want to cross the picket line.
Yeah, and then the youth, so it's going to be the youth players, but then the Potosi players are like blocking the youth players from taking the field. The Bolivian police arrive at the game. And I'm trying to follow all of this on Twitter with my mediocre kind of 6 out of 10 Spanish.
Yeah,
kind of mixing my own kind of understanding with some Google Translate as well to complement. And so anyway, what ends up happening is the police go away. It's youth team versus youth team. So all of a sudden, I've just got this like plus 120 position on these 16-year-old Bolivian kids going up against another group of 16-year-old Bolivian kids.
You still had a chance.
Yeah, and it's plus one. I feel like at that point, it's just a coin flip, right?
Sure. And
so I've got a plus 120 on a coin flip, and Potosi go down 4-3. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think that'll ever be topped.
Oh, no.
Now, that's not like my biggest monetary loss, but just for like the
God.
ridiculousness of the situation.
Oh, God.
I also had a huge position on Japan in the mixed judo in one Olympics, and that it was minus 500 favorites, and they got trucked.
Oh, man.
That was another bad one. But no, I'll always remember Nacional Potosi. Japanese mixed judo.
Japanese mixed judo.
We have a bad beat comment from Logan Evans. My worst beat this season was Eagles in a teaser versus the Jets, but all they had to do was run the ball. And I think that Logan's hit point, I feel that
game was brutal.
I think Jalen Hurts, the interception he threw, I can't remember who it was to. I think the pass was intended for Goddard. But that pass was the worst pass of the season. Because all you need to do is throw the ball incomplete and you almost certainly win the game. Because at that point, Zach Wilson needs to drive. Zach Wilson is having a bad game.
Yeah, it was Zach Wilson-esque.
Yeah.
Because he was wont to do that, intercepted throwaways.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a bad one. The worst game of the season by far. And just in terms of entertainment value, was probably Jets-Giants.
Yeah.
I still don't know how we had a game where Tommy DeVito had negative passing yards accrued over the course of the game.
Yeah.
And somehow the Jets won in overtime, I believe.
Yeah,
13-10
in overtime.
Yeah.
The stunning thing here, and I wasn't able to get set on it because it moved pretty quickly, but that was an example of how like outlier situations can break live markets. So the Giants, they get the ball, they win the toss, and they take the ball in overtime as you do. So Tommy DeVito he's not throwing the ball. They don't have a quarterback, basically.
Correct.
Their offense is Saquon runs up the gut and then screen passes to Saquon.
Yes.
And so the idea that they were going to move the ball down the field. So basically, anyway, the Giants
Except
in this game,
taking the ball was the loss.
Yes. So they take the ball and they're minus 120 on the money line to win. Like they were like plus 500 to win the game at that point.
Yeah.
Like they've no shit. Like they're not getting any yards. Like
right.
It's an elite defense. And then sure enough, the Jets ultimately win. That was ridiculous as well. If you got like Giants money line in that situation, because they go for the field goal when they just go for a yard to win the game. They miss the field goal. I think it goes on the upright. And then Wilson was pass interference and Alan Lazard.
It might have been two pass interference.
I'm pretty sure time expired. Yeah, the Jets lost the game.
Yeah,
they were just like,
we'll let you kick right. Yeah. This is not for, you're not playing for anything anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll let you have it. We'll allow it.
We are. Looks like we're a couple minutes away. We have an NBA trade deadline question.
Oh, is it how in the world were the Nets priced total in the 220s after they traded their only offensive creator? Is that the question?
My Brooklyn Nets aren't too good.
The Nets total should be in the teens, and if you see them in the 220s, I would get involved to the under. What is the question?
From Pranav, any material takeaways from NBA trade deadline or impact on futures markets? Also, what do you think of this Kawhi MVP thing? You want to start?
I have Kawhi MVP from preseason that I forgot about because I thought it was that dead.
Yep.
I'm not going to believe in the MVP steam until he's a favorite.
Okay.
I think ultimately there's just the Clippers are very, very good.
Yeah.
Full transparency.
Yep.
Went to Circa, cashed out of contests, put some futures into play.
Yep.
One of them was Clippers to win the title.
Yep.
I think they have a very realistic chance to beat the Nuggets in the West, although the top four in the West all seem to get a little bit more well-defined and better at the trade deadline, I think.
Yep.
Obviously, like the Clippers and the Nuggets didn't do anything meaningful.
Yep.
But the fact that I thought both the Thunder and the Wolves made nice moves,
Yep.
and I think you now have a very clearly stratified top four in the West.
Yes.
And of those, I like the matchups for the Clippers against all of those other teams. And so I think the Clippers can win the West, and I think they are a realistic threat to beat the Celtics.
Yep.
Celtics were the biggest winners of trade deadline because the Bucks didn't turn themselves into a contender.
Yep. No, I think that's all reasonable. I think in terms of Kawhi MVP, I think he can win, and I think that his market. I have him right now 40-1 fair, but
40-1.
Yeah, I think the issue with Kawhi is that like he's averaging like 24, 6, and 3.5. Like the counting stats are just in such a deficit compared to Jokic, SGA. I know Giannis is kind of falling a little bit now with his team, but his stats are still vastly better than Kawhi, and I think he has even still a clearer path to win MVP. So, I mean, and also Kawhi's advanced stats don't even really stack up to these guys. So, I think ultimately Kawhi, there's a chance like he's the 1 seed by margin, and people are like, well, he doesn't have the counting stats because he's one of the best defensive players in the league and he guards the best opposing player. It's just pretty hard for me to see him beat both Jokic and SGA as well as like Giannis and then Luka. I do think he is. I'd still have Luka as the 4th favorite, but Kawhi, I do think there is a path. Okay. I didn't really think there was a path a couple of weeks ago, but I think there is.
All right, we're holding just north of 50-1 from October.
Yeah.
And I was had written that off as a donation.
No, I
did not think that was real. Okay, so the other kind of futures thoughts on the NBA coming out of this, I was a little glib about the Eastern Conference, but like the fact that the Bucks have not solved point of attack defense makes them a non-factor in my mind.
Yep.
And that's not to say they can't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals still.
Yep.
They should probably still be your number 2 expected seed, but that's a fatal flaw.
Yep.
The deeper you go into a series, if you're up against a team that has the ability to create, you're in trouble.
Yep.
You're going to have to outscore them, period.
Yep.
You don't have any other path to victory. And so I think the Bucks are very fragile right now, very possible that somebody could shock them, and very unlikely to go on the road and beat the Celtics if that's your Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep. Yep, no, I agree with all that. I think that still think the Bucks are the second favorite in the East just because they have the ceiling.
Sure.
Like the Knicks don't really have that great of a ceiling, I think, as a team. I mean, they may have arguably the second highest floor in the conference after the Celtics. I mean, you could argue the Cavs as well. I think the Cavs are actually more likely to win the East than the Celtics, just because I think the Cavs are a lot more likely to get the 2 seed because the Celtics have the Knicks have all these injuries at the moment, and if the Cavs have home court, that's a big deal. I also think the Cavs probably have more talent still with Mobley back and the way Allen is playing, and
Mitchell's playing quite well.
Mitchell quietly, like everyone's talking about Kawhi, and like I don't think Donovan Mitchell's winning MVP.
Yeah.
But like Donovan Mitchell has, I think, just as good of a case as Kawhi. I think Donovan Mitchell has a better case than Jalen Brunson, who I think is basically 0% to win the award.
Do you have a fair price that Joel Embiid is fit and available for the playoffs on day one?
Yeah, I think the Sixers. So I bet a little Sixers to win the East at the 25 to 30 to 1 range, just because. One, I thought they might do a little bit more at the deadline. Honestly, I placed this before the deadline. I mean, the fact that they added Hield helps. The fact that it looks like they're probably going to sign Kyle Lowry, or at least they seem the leader in the clubhouse to do that, helps. And all of a sudden, if like Embiid, like he got the type of meniscus surgery that's 4 to 6 weeks typically, and it's not ideal that he's going to come into the playoffs without being, necessarily fully ramped up. But there's a chance that, they have a starting lineup of Melton, Maxey, Hield, Harris, Embiid, with guys like Oubre and Batum and Covington, Reed off the bench, Kyle Lowry off the bench. Like, it's a pretty solid team, and I think that they, on talent, they may have the second highest ceiling in the East.
Okay.
After the Celtics,
they're
obviously.
less fatally flawed.
Yeah, I think the issue now is that I think they're very possibly going to fall into the play-in. Is the problem?
Yeah.
All right.
I rate them pretty low right now.
Yes. Yeah. No, they're not. But they have upside and variance. You want to take long shots in a market like that?
Yeah.
I think they would be my bet at the moment. Cavs win 8 straight. Just keep on. Completely destroying.
The Cavs
teams.
were relatively significantly fatigued tonight, and they made absolute easy work of the Nets.
Yep.
Like that was a non-compete.
Yep.
that was an impressive performance by the Cavs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think basically realistically, you have one very clear favorite in the East in the Celtics because they're built like a super team.
Yep.
And then you have a tier where there is relatively little separation between the Bucks, a fully healthy Sixers squad, the Cavs, and then I would put the Knicks fifth.
Yep. All right, here we go. Comeback player of the year. All right, I can't. It's going to be an elongated operation.
I mean, this is what we're all here for, man. They brought Hamlin onto the stage. That would be the meanest thing that you could possibly do. Trot this guy out here. Let him present an award. Show him in this context, and then give it to someone else.
I swear to God, if they don't give it to the dead bloke, or at least Mayfield. Matthew Stafford, need you to steal some votes from Joseph.
I mean, with Stafford, I guess this is a weird award, and we can save some diatribe for once we know it's over. I don't want to vamp too much.
Hold my hands. Hold my hands.
You got this, man. Come on. Michael Vick.
Oh my God! Oh my God! They gave it to Flacco. Oh my God! They gave it to Flacco. You've got to be kidding me! You've got to be kidding me! Over Hamlin. Oh my God! That's ridiculous. That can't be real. What was the count here?
What?
He won by 11 votes over Hamlin. Got 26 second-place votes. That is insane. Mayfield didn't sniff it. Oh, my God. What a ridiculous outcome. He's not wearing a tie. Oh, man. That's insane.
Wow.
I'm speechless.
He only got 13 first-place votes, but 8 people left Damar Hamlin off their ballot.
That's a big number.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Damar Hamlin with 21 first-place votes. In the pre-ranked choice voting world, this is a clean win for Mr. Hamlin.
I cannot believe that has actually happened. Oh, my
Wow. Very, very, very wrong about this market.
God.
I guess my vote is that we abolish comeback player of the year. If we're not going to give it to the guy that came back from dying playing the game, then I'm not sure why we're giving it to anyone.
My God.
What
a ridiculous turn of events.
This is chaotic.
Damar Hamlin loses comeback player of the year. Coming back from the dead. Off ballot 8 times.
To Joe Flacco, who started 5 games.
Joe Flacco was on 47 out of 50 ballots with 5 games played.
Wow.
I cannot believe that.
Wow.
I get the Stefanski over Ryan's thing. That is just complete insanity. For Flacco to be only off 3 ballots. My God. Unreal.
Yes, this is in contention.
That is as bad as it gets.
Wow.
Oh, God.
I'm speechless.
It's unbelievable.
This is a real this one's gonna be memorable.
Roy Rides a Bike says, "What did Joe Flacco even come back from?" Well, Flacco said that he shouldn't have been up for the award, and that they should have given it to Hamlin.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is madness.
You had 4 first-place votes for Tua. Those would have been nice in the Hamlin category. Wow, man.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
I guess here's the key question. There was a very loud discourse in the closing month arguing against him.
Against Hamlin?
Hamlin. Do you think that swayed any of these voters to leaving him off ballot?
Yeah, definitely. I think some people just didn't treat him as a candidate for the award, which is just completely insane, frankly. But yeah, I thought that if it was going to be that if Hamlin was going to go down, that Mayfield was a much cleaner case. But I am absolutely stunned that Flacco was only left off of 3 ballots. Like, that is insane to me. The fact that he won, the fact that he played 5 games, like, how does he not get off more than 3 ballots total? It's ridiculous. I would have set the over-under there at like 10.5. And to only be left off of 3 ballots.
The other absurd thing is that, like, Flacco, the only exceptional part of his comeback was QB wins. Like, he was still not an especially compelling. Like, it was impressive because he came off the couch and he was able to conduct himself.
Yes,
but he was the 16th best quarterback over that sample.
He wasn't good.
That's what I'm getting at. It's
he threw 8 picks in 5 games.
Yeah, if he was putting in top 5 QB quality play over that sample, then maybe I would feel differently.
Yeah.
But let's break this down. Who did he even beat? He beat the lousy Jets. He beat
the Texans with Case Keenum. He beat
the Texas with He beat some backup quarterbacks.
He beat the
Is that
Bears.
really how it went down?
Yeah, it's sort of like outside of the significant monetary loss. It's also just kind of depressing that people would not
factor these things in.
The one that Hamlin's story just didn't resonate at all, and 2 that people would vote Flacco over Baker Mayfield, who played the whole season and who was better at football than Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Who actually had a comeback arc as opposed to just getting off the couch for 5 games, which is Flacco's words himself. Yeah, I can't believe that.
Man, this one's tough.
That's
I'm sorry, Jay. Joe Flacco.
Browns win 4 awards.
4-1 QB record. Yeah, I mean, like this still begs my kind of question of how many people voted after week 17.
Yeah, that's
yeah, like 4-1 as the starting quarterback.
Yeah,
13 touchdowns and 8 picks. His EPA per play was good enough for about 13th over this span.
Yeah.
What was it? This was week. Let's check it. Week 13 on. Wow, man.
That's that is a travesty. The stream has become too grim now. I think we should wrap this up.
2 years in a row.
Yeah, that's
This is turned into snuff film.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Maybe next year we break the curse, or maybe we extend it into another season. But I'm stunned by Flacco. He left off 3 ballots. And 8 people didn't think Damar Hamlin coming back from the dead was good enough for a 3rd place vote, which is unreal.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm sorry it got kind of dark and horror movie-esque towards the end, but appreciate everyone who tuned in, who listened to us talk about these awards all season long. It has been certainly interesting breaking them down, and hopefully people trailed us on Lamar and Garrett and Anderson. Hopefully did not trail us on comeback player of the year. But that's how it breaks sometimes. These are voted on by human beings, and sometimes it's unpredictable.
From when Flacco returned as the starter week 13 to the end of the season, 26th in EPA per play among quarterbacks.
Yep, he was not very good, but he's the comeback player of the year.
Wow.
Okay, everyone, we will be back. If I am still among the living, we'll be back on Monday, post Super Bowl. So good luck, everyone, with your bets on the Super Bowl, and we'll see you next week.